understanding of the greater plan. In these walls I've seen the light of love pure and divine. Helps me remember who I really am. In every face it's clear we're all God's children here. And it feels like home. It feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home. It feels like home. A family that I can call my own. It feels like home. It's a place to share your burden. It's safe to shed a tear. Say a prayer and raise your voice in song. Where every heart is honored and every path is tuned. No one's here to judge you right or wrong. And there's no shame, no sin in this place where love begins. And it feels like home. It feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home. It feels like home. A family that I can call my own. It feels like home.
Oh, it does feel like home. Let's take a moment of reflection. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes and take a breath. And today, we know the gift of love. We open ourselves to the possibilities available through reconciliation. If there is anything on our hearts that is keeping us closed off, that's keeping us restricted or worried, we take this moment to breathe, to soften, to open. We acknowledge the love of our inner being as the deepest truth of ourselves. We move our focus into new possibilities of connection, new experiences of freedom. We feel unity. We feel peace. And so it is.
Feels like home. It feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home. It feels like home. A family that I can call my own.
You declare you see me. dimly through a glass which will not shine. Though I stand before you boldly, trim and rank and marking time, you do own to hear me faintly, as a whisper out of range, while my drum beats out the message and the rhythms never change. Equality, and I will be free. Equality, and I will be free. We have lived a painful history. We know the shameful past, but I keep on marching forward, and you keep on coming last. Equality, I will be free. Equality, I will be free. Take the blinders from your vision, take the padding from your ears, and confess you've heard me crying. And admit you've seen my tears. Hear the tempo, so compelling. Hear the blood throb in my veins. And yes, my drums are beating nightly, and the rhythms never change. Equality, and I will be free. Equality, and I will be free.
I am a child of the living God, made in the image of perfect love. All that I am, all I've been given, to you, my God, I surrender. I surrender. I am a child of the living God, made in the image of perfect love. All that I am, all I've been given, to you, my God, I surrender. I surrender.
Good morning. Is it on? Oh, okay. Good morning. So right now we have 3 YOUers at kids camp being camp counselors. So that's why we're missing a couple of them. So, and I'm sure they're having an amazing time. They'll return on Tuesday. And Colin just got back from the Unitreat, which is our junior high camp, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his experience.
So the camp was based around, like, the theme was oneness. The idea that everything is one and that everyone's made from the same stardust is really fun. Everyone encouraged you to do things that you thought you could do, like on the high ropes course, when they encouraged me to go on the zip line. And I did.
He had a really good time. And so thank you, everyone, for your support, especially on our Hospitality Sundays, because you guys help make experiences like that happen. So
Thank you for being our family. Thank you for being our friend. Thank you for blessing and teaching us. God bless you. Amen. All that I am, all I've been given, to you, my God, I surrender.
Well, we love our youth, and we love our youth teachers, and we love our youth programming. And the words of the mouth of a youngster, we are one, right? Isn't it good stuff to be learning? Go off to camp. I actually had the opportunity last night to go down and see a show at the Fifth Avenue to see the production of West Side Story. Many of you, oh yes, it's a great story, right? Yeah, you remember the music, the production? It's terribly tragic. That show, if you don't remember, is awful. It's a terrible demonstration of what happens when we move into the consciousness of discrimination, of prejudice, of exclusivity, of pushing people away, of the opposite of oneness, right? Dead in a heap on the stage. It's terrible. I don't know why we watch these things. Everyone in the audience is just sitting there thinking, I hope it's different this time. The Jets, the Sharks, they'll get together. They'll work it out, right? When Maria says, Tony, go make it not happen. No, go make the fight not occur. That's what unfolds. Wouldn't that be great? It'd be awesome. There was one point in the show where there was this fantasy sequence where everyone, Jets, Sharks, and their families come together on the stage during the song, Somewhere, There's a Place for Us. It was so moving to see them commingle on the stage and with us as the audience when we know the deeper truth that we all unite in, that we are one, that peace is the answer, and that the consciousness, whatever it is, it's going to play out, right? Whatever direction it goes, it's going to play out. And we, united in Seattle at the Fifth Avenue, united here at Unity in Lynnwood, we're going to play out the consciousness of love, of peace, of recognizing each other. Not only somewhere is there a place for us, this is the place for us. We know that. In the seat back in front of you, you will find a prayer slip. If you want to put a prayer on that and put it in the offering basket as it goes by later in the service, you are welcome to do that anytime during the week. If you're feeling out of sorts, if you feel like you want to have a sense of connection, a sense of oneness, of moving your consciousness forward, you can call our confidential prayer line. You can leave a message on our website as well. Or if you want a time of personal prayer this morning, you can come up to the front and meet with one of our prayer chaplains. They're wearing purple prayer stoles around their neck, and they would love to meet you in a time of personal prayer. And I'd like to recognize them this morning. Could our prayer chaplain stand up so we can say thank you for your beautiful service to our community? Our practice of prayer is that of releasing and of taking in, of denying, of affirmation, of knowing what we don't want very clearly, and knowing what we do want, and resonating in that and anchoring that. Every Sunday we join in a denial and an affirmation together. I will share that with you. As I do, let's take this in, and then I'm going to ask us to join in this together. I no longer flail against the darkness of limitation and oppression. Rather, I light a candle of possibility and justice. Will you stand with me? And together, I no longer flail against the darkness of limitation and oppression. Rather, I light a candle of possibility and of justice. And so it is. Let's take a minute to greet each other, and then we have some fantastic music coming our way.
Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one. One big big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one, one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah.
And I tell you what, between Colin and Ken Urie, I feel like I've already been to church. Can anybody agree with that this morning? Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. Oh. Whoo, get ready for some high church today, baby. We'll share from the hymnal according to Gloria Gaynor this morning. About 6 people already know what's coming. Small group ministry, stay after this service today. Men's group, women's group, visioning. It is the last of 3. All are warmly welcome into each and all of these offerings. Next Sunday, students of Myrtle Study Group, that meets during the 9 o'clock service. Attend 9 o'clock with Myrtle, attend 11 o'clock with Richard. It's a great day. It's a great day. Spiritual Saturdays with Rabbi Ted Falcon. Truly, if you have not given yourself the gift of Rabbi Ted Falcon, consider it. Spiritual Saturdays on the 13th of July. The exploration begins at 11 o'clock in the morning. And finally, the all-community picnic. Allow us to celebrate you. Allow your board of trustees to share gratitude with you for the countless gifts you give and are to Unity in Lynnwood. The 21st of July, simply register at the Welcome and Information Station. The church will provide humanely sourced meat products. If you so choose, you're welcome to register to bring a side or a dessert, or both. Or both. Every service has an ambassador, including this one. And this individual's role is to support you in your exploration and discovery of this ever-evolving, unfolding idea we call Unity in Lynnwood. So if you have a question about what we believe, about what we teach, about what is available to you on your path of exploration and discovery, you are welcome to simply engage this individual in conversation. You will be so glad you did. Truly a light being that you might have a face to go with a name. Lynn Burton Harden, would you wave to these kind people, please, this morning? Woo! This series will conclude this Friday evening, 7 o'clock p.m., with a service I've entitled Stand. It's the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall event. It features music by Matthew, by Bevan Garnett, with messages by Reverend Nina, by Rabbi Ted, Bishop Kathy, Imam Jamal from the Interfaith Sanctuary, Reverend Linda Spencer from Unity of Skagit Valley, Dr. Kathy Ann from CSL, Reverend Sidney from Unity of Portland, and other clergy from other faith traditions across Puget Sound. All are welcome. Now, the series began with some history. That as an LGBTQ person in the United States in 1969, your name, along with those of your friends and family, would be listed with the FBI due to your vulnerability to blackmail, your propensity for perversion, and your tendency toward drug addiction, burglary, sadism, and of course, murder. Oh, those murderous gays. Your name would be monitored by the United States Postal Service as well, that any homosexual paraphernalia might be reported to the police, thereby prompting your arrest. Your neighborhood would be periodically swept with the intent to arrest any and all discovered wearing clothes not for their gender. Well, they'd have fun with that in today's Seattle, wouldn't they? Woo! And as would remain the case until 1973, you would be deemed mentally ill by the American Psychiatric Association. You see, as an LGBTQ person in the United States in 1969, you would have been condemned by authorities as a criminal, by religion as a sinner, and by medicine as a sociopath. This was the context from which the Stonewall event, an event that started as just another in an ongoing series of orchestrated attacks on the LGBTQ community, arose. People often ask what was special about that night. One eyewitness recalls, it was just one of those moments in history. You just know this is it. I like to say that the LGBTQ community reached Popeye consciousness. You know, I mean, we've all been there, that consciousness that seems to rise up from the very bowels of us to shout, you know what, I've had all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. It's the same consciousness that was realized by Gloria Gaynor, Saint Gloria, as she's known. You know, evolution, sometimes we get great clarity on the new emerging path, but sometimes spiritual evolution plays out as getting real clear that the path I've been on is not the one that will continue. Welcome, LaVon Hardison, please. Woo!
First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along, and now you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I had known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go, walk out the door, just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? Do you think I crumble? Do you think I lay down and die? Oh, no, not I. I will survive. For as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I got all my life to live, and I got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive. It took all the strength I had not to fall apart. Kept trying hard to mend the pieces of my broken heart. And I spent oh so many nights just feeling sorry for myself. I used to cry, but now I hold my head up high and I see you with someone new. I'm not that chained up little person still in love with you. And so you felt like dropping in and just expect me to be free. Well, I'm saving all my loving for someone who's loving me. Oh, now go, walk out the door, just turn around now. We're not welcome anymore. Were you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? You think I crumble? Do you think I lay down and die? Oh, no, not I. As long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I got all my life to live, and I got all this love to give. I'll survive. Survive. Oh,
I'll survive. Yes, I'll survive. Yeah. Woo! Yeah, we're going to turn it up a notch later, too. Popeye consciousness. It's the same consciousness that rose up in Susan B. Anthony, ultimately giving rise to women's suffrage. It's the same consciousness that rose up in Nelson Mandela, ultimately giving rise to the end of apartheid. It's the same consciousness that rose up in Rosa Parks, ultimately giving rise to the end of segregation. It's the same consciousness that rose up in MLK, ultimately giving rise to the Civil Rights Act of '64, the Voting Rights Act of '65. Change, we began the series by saying, whether in our organizations or our communities or our nations or our world, it seems that meaningful change more often rises from the evolution of individuals than it does from the vision of leaders. Not only does it more often rise from the evolution of individuals, meaningful change often rises in tension with the vision of leaders, in tension with accepted ways, in tension with normative belief, in tension with existing systems. It's a grassroots, inside-out process that, like any physical birth, is uncomfortable at best and painful at worst, demanding circumstantial profanity and dogged tenacity. It's a center to circumference experience of humility appropriate to every unfolding that is bigger than the personal self. This is the real story of Stonewall. It's a story of the rise of that evolutionary impulse within individuals in tension with the very worlds in which they lived. And the story of the rise of that evolutionary impulse within individuals is one that can be limited to no single era. It's one that can be limited to no single geography. It's one that has neither beginning nor ending. It's one in which each of us has been assigned a role. So Stonewall is a series dedicated to those individuals who stood to center for meaningful change 50 years ago this month, yes. But even more so to all who are willing to give rise to that same evolutionary impulse that calls each of us, even today, into higher ways of being. So here's how I see it. As I've said so many times before, we are garden people. We are garden people who chose to eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In other words, we are garden people who chose to incarnate into a level of reality in which unity might experience itself as multiplicity, in which God might experience itself as high and low, hot and cold, here and there, shadow and light, Republican and Democrat. And I say fruit because there's no apple in the story. We made that up. At some point in our history, we simply decided that Eve gave Adam an apple. And generations passed that lie to generations who passed that lie to generations. There is no apple. And so it begs the question, if humanity managed to so firmly insert that apple into the narrative that people at Unity in Lynnwood are visibly shocked in 2019, what other lies might we be living with? But I digress. We are garden people who chose to eat of that fruit, that unity might experience itself as multiplicity. And from that point, we were no longer in the garden. Much of the Much of the great fall of humanity into sin thinking is associated with this expulsion from the garden. But I'm afraid the great fall of humanity into sin thinking has the same source as that apple. In other words, it's not there either. There is no apple, and you didn't fall anywhere. But I digress. We are garden people who chose to eat of the fruit. And from that point, we were no longer in the garden. And here's the deal. Through the remainder of the Hebrew Scriptures, an epic collection representing some 800 years of writings, and through the remainder of Christian Scriptures, representing another 100 years of writings, through the entirety of the 66 books, or more books, depending upon which Bible you call your own, never do we find our way home. I like to say it this way. All of life has a source, and all of life is an emanation of that source. It was Oliver Wendell Holmes who said, and I quote, "My religion is summed up in the first two words of the Lord's Prayer, Our Father." Holmes knew that even though the lens of early humanity would imagine that source to be distant, that even though the lens of early mythology would imagine that source to be human, that even though the lens of early patriarchy would imagine that source to be male, those two words, Our Father, still say the same thing. All of life has a source, and all of life is an emanation of that source. I have to believe that a deep remembering of this is why our traditional Christian brothers and sisters so frequently say that we're all the body of Christ. I have to believe that a deep remembering of this is why our unity founders and teachers so frequently said we're all children of God. For while both sayings yet again reflect something of their humanity, their transcendent points remain the same. All life has a source, and all life is an emanation of that source. In other words, while we are garden people who chose to incarnate into a level of reality in which unity might experience itself as multiplicity, in which God might experience itself as high and low, hot and cold, here and there, shadow and light, Republican and Democrat, there's something within us that remembers, or something within us that deeply remembers that we are each other's family in our better moments, and that we are each other in our best moments. I have to believe that it was such a remembering that arose in Susan B. Anthony, compelling her voice to speak up to patriarchy. We're all from the same garden here. I have to believe that it was such a remembering that arose in Nelson Mandela, compelling his voice to speak to oppression. We're all from the same garden here. I have to believe that it was such a remembering that arose in Rosa Parks, compelling her voice to speak up to inequity. We're all from the same garden here. I have to believe that it was such a remembering that arose in MLK, compelling his voice to speak up to injustice. We're all from the same garden here. And yes, I have to believe that it was such a remembering that arose in Virginia Apuzzo, Martin Boyce, Raymond Castro, Danny Garvin, Jerry Hoos, Tommy Lanigan Schmidt, Dick Leitch, John O'Brien, Seymour Pine, Yvonne Ritter, Fred Sargent, Martha Shelley, Howard Smith, Lucian Truscott, and Doric Wilson. It was such a remembering that arose in these LGBTQ pioneers on June 28, 1969, compelling their collective voices to speak up to cruelty. We're all from the same garden here. There's something within each of us that deeply remembers our sweet unity within that garden. We remember it most clearly when we're very young and when we're very old. You see, the countless vehicles typically used for our separation, one from another, are completely foreign in the beginning and wildly unnecessary in the end. But we remember it in our moments of greatest awakening as well. The countless vehicles typically used for our separation, one from another, are completely revealed in our moments of greatest awakening. There seems to be an aspect of humanity that revels in the status quo. It preserves itself by keeping its host poised between the thresholds of too much pain and too much fulfillment. For this aspect of humanity seems to understand that if its host finds itself in too much pain, it won't trust the status quo, and that if its host finds itself in too much fulfillment, it won't need the status quo. You see, that's why it's not wise to call our darkest moments our worst moments. Our darkest moments have a way of awakening us from the status quo into the divine evolution. Marianne Williamson said it best when she said that our darkest moments have a way of returning us to our knees where we should have been all along. Through the remainder of the Hebrew Scriptures, through the remainder of the Christian Scriptures, never do we find our way back home. Never do we find our way home, you see, because to be human is to live here together, east of Eden, remembering our sweet unity within that garden. And so the question extended to each of us this morning by Anthony, the question extended to each of us this morning by Mandela, by Parks, by King, by Stonewall, becomes, whom would we imagine worthy to stand outside that garden today? Take a deep breath with me. Whom would we imagine worthy to stand in the wilderness of patriarchy today? Wake up. Whom would we imagine worthy to stand in the wasteland of oppression today? Let me wake up. Whom would we imagine worthy to stand in the deserts of iniquity, in the barrens of injustice? Let me wake up. And whom would we imagine worthy to to stand in the far countries of cruelty today. Oh, let me wake up. Let me wake up. Now, for us at Unity in Lynnwood, I have to tell you, we are crystal clear on our answer to all of these questions. In our inclusion statement, we find it finely detailed, and I quote, "Because we celebrate, because we honor, because we affirm the divine presence in every person, we welcome you. We welcome your thoughts and your ideas, knowing that they add value to our discourse. We welcome your gifts and talents, knowing that they add value to our resources. We welcome everyone into this community without regard to age, without regard to ability, without regard to race, religious belief, cultural background, gender, or orientation. Quite simply, we welcome you to Unity in Lynnwood."
There is a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. There is a spirit who brings a fire, ignites a candle, and makes his home. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. Frustrated brother, see how he's tried to light his own candle some other way. See now your sister, she's been lied and wrong, still holds a candle without a flame. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. We are a family whose hearts are blazing, so let's raise our candles and light up the sky, praying to Spirit in the name of creation. Make us a beacon in darkest times. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless,
Thank you. So good. Our musicians. And Dr. Richard, thank you for a wonderful message and series and reminder. We stand together. Absolutely. This is the time in our service where we have the opportunity to give. We're so thankful for every gift given in this community and to our online community who gives us gifts as well to support the ministry and the message here at Unity in Lynnwood. I'll remind us of some words from Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore, who said this: if we have freely received, we must also freely give to keep the substance going, confident in our understanding that our supply is unlimited and always right at hand in the omnipresent mind of God. As you have your offering, place it in your hands or put your hands on your heart, and let's take this affirmation together in a blessing. I infuse this gift with love. I dedicate this gift to possibility, and I release this gift in faith. Thank you for your gifts.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
And it is with joyous hearts that we bless these gifts with loves. We bless these gifts with possibility, and we bless these gifts with faith. And so it is. Thank you, ushers. Every Sunday is a good Sunday here at Unity in Lynnwood, isn't it? Absolutely. We love to see familiar faces every Sunday. We also like to see people who might be seeing us for the first time. We want to welcome any newcomers who might be joining us with just a round of applause. If you want to put your hand in the air, we will say hello. Nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Wow, and I think I saw you in the conga line too. Is that right? That's impressive for first Sunday. Welcome to Unity in Lynnwood. I don't know where else that's happening. Yeah, on Sunday morning, right? In the seat back in front of you, you'll find a newcomer's information card letting you know a little bit more about our community. And also, if you're new today or newish, there's also a stay in touch card where you can put your contact information, and that will result in a couple emails each month that I love to get them because I get inspired by them and I get the information about what's going on here in our community. And of course, everyone's welcome to come to the Friendship Hall after service to join in some refreshments and coffee. And that is being provided today by our Board of Trustees, and all donations are donated to our UIL Building Fund. So thank you for your generosity supporting that. We have several announcements, and of course, for details about each of these, you can find those at our Welcome Information Station. And if you ever have an emergent need, this is a good reminder, during the service, please signal an usher or someone seated near you by raising your hand. Our welcome team stand at the ready to be helpful to you. Today's flowers, beautiful, are dedicated by Linda Babin for her longtime friend Rosalie Bennett's birthday. Happy birthday, Rosalie. Where are you, Rosalie? Oh, happy birthday. There she is. If you'd like to make a flower dedication, you can do so in our gift shop for a dedication for only $10. Gospel teachings have usually portrayed Jesus as the great exception. By focusing upon his sayings, we come to see him as the great example for spiritual awakening, empowerment, and transformation. This is the final Tuesday to join Jesus' teachings. Dr. Richard facilitates. Would you like to uplift your spirit as you energize and revitalize your body, mind, and soul? If yes, then join like-minded people for an hour-long lighthearted experience of easy-does movement set to new thought, music, and a follow-the-leader format. Health and Wellness Ministry presents The Body as a Temple of the Soul on Saturday, June 29th at 10 a.m. Co-chair Nancy Joy Callahan facilitates. Thank you. Please wear comfortable clothing and bring a water bottle, mat, or blanket. And finally, join UIL's prayer chaplains on Wednesday, July 10th at 7 p.m. for their quarterly Celebrate Your Divinity service, featuring an evening of chant, stretching, and gong by Siddha Simran. You are invited to bring a mat or blanket to completely relax as the vibration of gong blesses and enriches every cell of your being. All good things happening here at Unity in Lynnwood, of course, can be found in your printed program by visiting our Facebook page or the calendar page of our website at unityinlynnwood.org.
And I'd also like to say that not only is it Rosalie's birthday, but she actually arranges the flowers every Sunday. So let's thank her for that. Always does an amazing job. And if you will stop by the Friendship Hall product table to support our dear LaVon, she's got amazing product there. If you'll join me, we'll sing our peace song. Let begin. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Oh, I'm still delighting in that. Rosalie, please arrange some flowers. I would like to dedicate them to you. It reminds me of the Christmas celebrations of my childhood, but that's a different story. I digress. We launched a program for all who feel called to such a purpose. It's called I'm With Them. It was born of inspiration from Rabbi Ted, and it basically, in a nutshell, it removes the role of spectator in the instance of oppression. It's a program that says where we would see oppression by the majority imposed upon a minority, we step forward and we say, hey, I'm with you. We have a Facebook group that's called I'm With Them. Go to Unity in Lynnwood on Facebook. It will lead you to that page. We had over 250 bracelets go out on the first Sunday. We've since completed orders that span the country as recently as early this morning. You, my friends, it would appear, are part of a movement. Congratulations. Thank you for being such a light. If you were part of the team that gathered yesterday to make Unity in Lynnwood's grounds beautiful and welcoming, please just raise your hand and allow us to thank you with some applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And finally, let's close with a divine argument. If there's a first name of any soul you'd like to invite into this consciousness of love and support, speak it now, please. Ooh, and so yes, on behalf of all those names spoken, yet again, whether it be with the human tongue or human heart, it matters not. On behalf of all who have turned anything of a spiritual ear to this very conversation, we stand in our knowledge that you are firmly planted in the middle of the garden of God's infinite potentiality. We do not acquiesce to appearances. We do not acquiesce to the apparitions of earthly life, but we stand firmly in our deep and abiding knowledge that you are part of a sufficiency that's ample. You are part of a life that is ample. You are part of a wisdom that is ample. You are part of a harmony that seeks only to prove itself in your life and in the world of form. That's where we stand. It's our divine argument. It is our affirmative prayer. It's a gift we give this morning. And we put a semicolon at the end of it by lifting our voices with something of a faith, with something of a boldness, and speaking together these closing words. There is one power and one presence in, through, and around all creation. As the eyes of divine love, as the tongues of divine wisdom, as the hands of divine sufficiency, and the what? And ready hearts of divine life. Have a great